The hum of the airport terminal faded into the background as Aaliyah Carter stepped onto Skylink Airways Flight 927 at Nashville International Airport. It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the air carried a hint of impending rain, and travelers bustled with the urgency of business trips and family reunions. Aaliyah, at 32 years old, moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had navigated high-stakes worlds before. Her sleek black blazer hugged her frame perfectly, paired with tailored pants and comfortable loafers, practical yet polished, the uniform of a woman who balanced motherhood with corporate ambition. In her arms she cradled her 5-month-old son Noah, whose tiny fists clenched and unclenched against her chest as he let out soft, intermittent cries. He wasn't fussing loudly, just the natural whimpers of a baby adjusting to the cabin pressure, and the unfamiliar roar of engines warming up outside. Aaliyah had chosen first class for a reason. With her gold status boarding pass clutched in one hand, she settled into seat 2A, the window offering a view of the tarmac where ground crews scurried like ants. She had paid a premium for the space and service, knowing that traveling with an infant could be unpredictable. Noah had been a dream on previous flights, but today, perhaps sensing his mother's underlying tension, he squirmed a bit more. Aaliyah bounced him gently, whispering soothing words into his ear. "Shoo, little one, we're almost there. Mommy's got you." Her voice was melodic, a soft lullaby woven into the chaos of boarding. But not everyone appreciated the scene. Flight attendant Jessica Harper, 35, with her Navy uniform pressed to perfection and silver wings gleaming under the cabin lights, had been watching from the galley. Jessica had 8 years under her belt at Skylink, years that had hardened her into someone who prided herself on maintaining order. She saw disruptions everywhere, spilled drinks, loud talkers, and now this young black mother with a crying baby in first class. Jessica's mind raced with assumptions. How did she afford this seat? Was she one of those influencers trying to game the system? The baby's cries, though mild, grated on her nerves like nails on a chalkboard. She straightened her posture, her lips thinning into a line of disapproval. "Ma'am," Jessica said, approaching with clipped steps, her voice carrying over the murmurs of settling passengers. "You need to control your child. This is first class, not a nursery. If he keeps screaming, I'll have no choice but to involve security and remove you both from the aircraft immediately." Aaliyah looked up, her dark eyes steady despite the sting of the words. She adjusted Noah's blanket, revealing the edge of her boarding pass with its special gold Kodia detail Jessica either missed or ignored. "I'm sorry if he's bothering anyone," Aaliyah replied calmly, her tone measured and polite. "He's just a little fussy from the pressure change. I'll have him settled in a moment." But Jessica wasn't in the mood for explanations. The cabin was filling up. A businessman in a tailored suit barking into his phone about a merger, an elderly woman in designer glasses and pearls clutching her Chanel bag, a young couple scrolling through their devices, and a college student, Mia, 20, who had already pulled out her phone to film the unfolding drama for TikTok. Jessica felt the eyes on her, the unspoken expectation to assert authority. In her mind, this was her domain, and she wasn't about to let a disruptive passenger ruin the premium experience. The tension escalated in seconds. Noah let out a sharper cry, prompted by a sudden jolt as the plane taxied slightly. Jessica's patience snapped like a brittle twig. "Control your screaming brat or I'll have security remove you both from this aircraft immediately," she barked, her voice echoing through the first-class cabin. Before Aaliyah could respond, Jessica's hand flew out, the sharp crack of flesh meeting flesh reverberating like a thunderclap. Her palm connected with Aaliyah's cheek, leaving a red welt that burned hot against her skin. The cabin fell into a stunned silence, broken only by Noah's intensified whimpers. Passengers gasped, some pulling out their phones to record what they assumed was a justified intervention. The businessman in the suit nodded approvingly, muttering under his breath, "Finally, someone with backbone. These people always think they can do whatever they want." The elderly woman in pearls whispered to her neighbor, "Thank God for standards. In my day, parents knew how to behave on flights." Aaliyah's cheek throbbed, but she didn't flinch or retaliate. Instead, she adjusted Noah's blanket with trembling hands, her boarding pass still visible in her lap. "Mrs. A. Carter," with that unmistakable gold status code. Her dark eyes remained steady, a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface. She had faced judgment before in boardrooms and elevators, where her skin color and youth often prompted assumptions. But this was new territory, a public assault in front of strangers, all while protecting her child. Have you ever been judged as a bad parent in public before anyone offered help? That's the question that hung unspoken in the air as Jessica straightened her uniform, her silver wings catching the light. The slap had energized her, a rush of power in the confined space of the aircraft. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced loudly, playing to her audience, "I apologize for the disruption. Some people simply don't understand appropriate travel etiquette." Murmurs of approval rippled through the cabin. The businessman nodded toward Aaliyah. "Thank God someone's maintaining standards." A young woman across the aisle, perhaps in her late 20s, held up her phone, but her expression was mixed sympathy flickering behind the screen. Mia, the college student, was live on TikTok now, her viewer count climbing rapidly. 847. 1,234. 3,456. "Y'all, this is insane," she whispered into her phone. "This flight attendant just slapped a mom with a baby. I can't even." But the comments pouring in weren't kind to Aaliyah. Finally, disciplining bad parents. Why can't people control their kids? That mom looks entitled AF. Flight attendant is a hero. Jessica pulled out her radio, speaking with theatrical flair. "Captain Reynolds, we have a code yellow in first class. Disruptive passenger with infant, refusing to comply with crew instructions." The radio crackled back. "Copy that, Jessica. How do you want to proceed?" "I'm recommending immediate removal before departure. She's already delayed us 8 minutes with this tantrum." Aaliyah glanced at her phone discreetly. The screen showed 14 minutes until departure, and below that, a text notification. Corporate acquisition announcement scheduled for 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All systems ready. She tucked the phone away before Jessica could glimpse it. This wasn't just any flight for Aaliyah. It was en route to a pivotal moment in her career. As the wife of Skylink's CEO, Nathan Carter, she had been instrumental in negotiating a major acquisition that would reshape the airline industry. But right now, that world felt a million miles away. "Excuse me," Aaliyah said quietly, her voice barely audible over the cabin noise. "My ticket shows seat 2A. I paid for first-class service and I'd appreciate." Jessica cut her off with a harsh laugh. "Honey, I don't care what scam you pulled to get that ticket. People like you always try to upgrade illegally. I know every trick in the book." The insult landed like another slap, drawing chuckles from nearby passengers. Mia's TikTok count surged to 5,000, the comments growing harsher. Aaliyah opened her carry-on bag to retrieve a bottle of formula for Noah. As she did, a flash of platinum caught the Lighten executive card tucked between diapers and wipes. It wasn't a standard frequent flyer card. It was custom, embossed with intricate designs signifying top-tier access. She hid it quickly, but Jessica's eyes narrowed. "Who exactly do you think you're calling? Your baby daddy isn't going to save you from federal aviation regulations." The cabin erupted in subtle laughter, the businessman raising his phone higher to capture the moment. Aaliyah felt the heat rise in her chest, but she focused on Noah, whose tiny fist wrapped around her finger, a gesture of trust that should have softened hearts but only seemed to irritate the onlookers more. The elderly woman leaned forward. "Young lady, in my day, parents knew how to travel with children properly. This display is absolutely shameful." More phones appeared, the incident documented from multiple angles. Facebook Live started, Instagram stories uploaded, and flight drama began trending locally. But Aaliyah remained unnaturally calm, not arguing, not raising her voice, not making demands. Her composure was almost unsettling, like someone holding an ace up their sleeve. Noah had quieted somewhat, his dark eyes looking around with innocent curiosity. Aaliyah kissed his forehead, whispering words too quiet for the recordings. "Just a little longer, baby. Mommy's got this." Her watch, a simple black timepiece with an engraving on the back, "To my brilliant wife," and see ticked down the minutes. Jessica, building to her crescendo, pulled out her radio again. "Captain, passenger is non-compliant. Requesting immediate ground security assistance." The response: "Copy. Ground crew standing by." Aaliyah spoke for the second time, her voice steady. "Ma'am, I understand you're following what you believe are protocols, but I'd suggest verifying my passenger status before taking irreversible action. Irreversible? Jessica's voice rose incredulously. Lady, the only thing irreversible here is your behavior. You think because you bought an expensive outfit and got your hands on a first-class ticket, you can disrupt an entire flight. The businessman near the window opened his laptop, typing rapidly on an aviation industry forum. His post: Witnessing discrimination in real time, Skylink Flight 927. Within minutes, insiders were following shares climbing. 10 minutes, Jessica announced with finality. Security will be here in 10 minutes, and this situation will be resolved one way or another. Aaliyah checked her phone again. Another buzz. Skylink Executive Office. She declined it, her eyes holding a knowledge that made the observant passengers uncomfortable. Something was about to shift, but no one could predict how dramatically. Captain Michael Reynolds strode through the first-class cabin, his gold stripes commanding respect. At 45, with 20 years of commercial aviation, he projected absolute authority. What's the situation here, Jessica? His voice carried the weight of federal command. Jessica straightened, energized. Sir, this passenger has been disruptive since boarding, screaming child, refusing instructions, now argumentative about deplaning. Reynolds studied Aaliyah. Young black mother, designer diaper bag, first-class seat. His assumptions aligned with Jessica's. Ma'am, I'm Captain Reynolds. Federal regulations require compliance with crew instructions. Mia's TikTok stream exploded past 15,000 viewers. The captain's here now. This is getting serious, she whispered. Comments. She's about to get arrested. Captain looks mad. By entitled mom. Aaliyah adjusted Noah, checking her phone. 8 minutes until departure. Ma'am, whatever schedule you think you're keeping, it doesn't override safety protocols, Reynolds demanded. From the galley, 2 federal air marshals emerged, plainclothes but unmistakable. Air Marshal Rodriguez approached, hand near his weapon. Captain, nature of the disturbance? Passenger non-compliance, refusing deplane after disruptive behavior, Reynolds replied. The businessman paused his forum post to snap photos. His thread gained traction. 200 shares, comments growing. Jessica announced over intercom. We apologize for the delay caused by an uncooperative passenger. Resolution momentarily. Passenger frustration boiled over. Just throw her off. I have a connection. Ridiculous. TikTok hit 25,000. Local news alerts pinged. Viral incident on Skylink flight. Aaliyah remained seated, Noah calm now. Her composure eerie. Air Marshal Johnson. Ma'am, gather belongings and come voluntarily. I need exactly 5 more minutes, Aaliyah said quietly. Reynolds scoffed. You have 0. This is my command. You're a hazard. The elderly woman. Captain, 60 years flying, this entitled behavior ruins air travel. The blogger noticed anomalies. Passenger too calm. Something's off. Aaliyah's phone buzzed. Skylink corporate emergency line. Declined. Jessica. Who keeps calling? Baby daddy can't override law. Insult drew chuckles. 6 minutes, Reynolds announced. Ground security vehicles visible, lights flashing. TikTok 32,000. Flight incident trending. Ground security boarded, equipment jingling. Lead officer. By captain's order you're removed. Comply voluntarily. Aaliyah looked around, Noah gurgling at a badge. For minutes, she said. Reynolds flushed. 0 minutes. Escort her immediately. Security moved. Passengers leaned forward, phones ready. TikTok 38,000. But Aaliyah's eyes calm, waiting. Rodriguez hesitated. Ma'am, if you have documentation, now's the time. Rodriguez, Reynolds cut off. No negotiation. Remove her. Jessica triumphant. This is why protocols exist. Some manipulate with fake emergencies. Cabin applauded. Comments celebrated crew. Aaliyah whispered to Noah, reached for phone. 3 minutes. Time's up, Reynolds declared. Proceed. As security advanced, Aaliyah pressed a contact speaker on. Hi, honey, she said. Trouble on your airline. The voice. Which aircraft, sweetheart? I'll handle personally. Reynolds froze. Every Skylink captain knew that voice. Nathan Carter, CEO. The cabin's silence was deafening. Noah's coo's the only sound. TikTok. 45,000. Comments. Plot twist. She's the CEO's wife? The clock was ticking down mercilessly, and with just 6 minutes until the mandatory departure deadline, the first-class cabin of Skylink Airways Flight 927 felt like a pressure cooker on the verge of explosion. The air was thick with tension, a mix of recycled oxygen and the sharp scent of anxiety-sweated cologne from the passengers. Aaliyah Carter sat there in seat 2A, her 5-month-old son Noah nestled against her chest, his tiny breath steady now, as if he sensed the storm brewing around them. She checked her watch, agawing a subtle glance that betrayed nothing of the turmoil inside her. For minutes. That's all she needed, she thought, her mind racing through the carefully laid plans that had brought her to this moment. But to the outside world, she was the picture of unnerving calm, a black mother in a sea of judgmental eyes, holding her ground without a single raised word. Captain Michael Reynolds burst into the cabin like a force of nature, his polished shoes thudding against the carpeted aisle. At 45, with 20 years of commanding the skies under his belt, he carried himself with the unshakable authority of someone who had stared down turbulence and emergencies alike. His uniform was impeccable, gold stripes gleaming like badges of honor, and his voice boomed with the weight of federal aviation law. "What's the situation here, Jessica?" he demanded, his eyes scanning the scene like a radar locking onto a target. Jessica Harper, the flight attendant whose slap had ignited this firestorm, straightened up immediately, her face flushing with a mix of relief and vindication. At 35, she had spent 8 years enforcing the unwritten rules of the skies, and moments like this fed her sense of control. "Sir," she said, her voice laced with urgency, "this passenger has been disruptive since boarding. The child's been screaming nonstop, she's refusing crew instructions, and now she's being outright argumentative about deplaning. We've got a full cabin of premium passengers delayed because of her." Reynolds turned his gaze to Aaliyah, assessing her in an instant. Young, black, poised in a way that didn't fit the disruptive label Jessica had slapped on her, pun intended. But assumptions die hard in high-pressure environments, and Reynolds' mind aligned quickly with his crew's narrative. He saw the designer diaper bag, the first-class seat, but filtered it through years of dealing with what he called entitled travelers. "Ma'am," he said, his tone firm and unyielding, "I'm Captain Reynolds. Federal aviation regulations require all passengers to comply with crew instructions for the safety of everyone on board. If you're unwilling to do so, we'll have no choice but to remove you." The cabin held its breath. Mia, the 20-year-old college student filming on TikTok, could barely keep her phone steady. Her live stream had surged past 30,000 viewers in the last few minutes, the comments section a whirlwind of divided opinions. "Why's she so calm? This mom's got ice in her veins," one viewer typed. Another countered, "Flight attendants out of line slapping a mom? That's assault." But the majority still leaned toward the crew. "Kick her off already. Captain's a legend for stepping in." Mia whispered breathlessly into her mic. "Oh my God, the captain's here now. This is escalating so fast, does she even realize how much trouble she's in?" Aaliyah adjusted Noah in her arms, his little hand clutching her blouse as if anchoring her to reality. She checked her phone discreetly, another buzz from the Skylink corporate emergency line. She declined it, her expression unchanging. "Captain," she said quietly, her voice cutting through the noise like a gentle but insistent breeze, "I understand the protocols, but I'd ask that you verify my passenger status before proceeding. It might clarify things." Reynolds let out a short, disbelieving laugh, crossing his arms. "Ma'am, your status doesn't override federal safety rules. Whatever schedule you're on, it ends here if you're creating a hazard." He glanced at Jessica, who nodded vigorously, sensing victory within reach. "Jessica, proceed with the announcement." Jessica grabbed the intercom with dramatic flair, her voice projecting confidence. "Ladies and gentlemen, this passenger is disrupting the entire flight. We're working to resolve it quickly so we can get underway." The announcement triggered a wave of frustration from the passengers. Voices rose like a chorus. "Just get her off. I've got a meeting in New York, this is unacceptable." The businessman in the tailored suit, who had been muttering support for Jessica earlier, raised his phone higher, ensuring he captured every angle. "You're holding up 200 people with this nonsense. He called out directly to Aaliyah. Some of us have real business to attend to. Outside the windows, airport security vehicles pulled up, their emergency lights flashing blue and red across the tarmac, casting eerie shadows inside the cabin. The ground crew was boarding now, their footsteps heavy on the jet bridge. The federal air marshals, already in position, flanked Aaliyah's seat. Air Marshal Rodriguez on one side, Johnson on the other. Rodriguez, a seasoned agent with a hand positioned near his concealed weapon, eyed Aaliyah cautiously. "Ma'am, if you have any legitimate concern or documentation, this is your last chance to present it." But Reynolds cut him off sharply. "No negotiations, Rodriguez. She's a non-compliant passenger. Remove her now." Jessica stepped forward, her triumph evident in her smirk. "This is exactly why we have security protocols in place. Some people think they can manipulate situations with fake emergencies and social media theater." The cabin erupted in approval claps and nods from the elderly woman in pearls, who had been vocal earlier, and murmurs of agreement from others. Mia's TikTok viewer count hit 35,000, the comments now a frenzy. "She's done for. Love how the captain's handling this." But buried deeper were dissenting voices. "This feels wrong. Why isn't she fighting back? Something's not adding up. She's too composed." Aaliyah kissed Noah's forehead gently, whispering something inaudible that seemed to calm him further. Her eyes, however, held a quiet knowledge, a spark that made the smartest observers pause. The businessman blogging on the aviation forum typed furiously, "This feels like a setup. Passenger shows zero distress to controlled for someone about to be dragged off." His post was gaining traction, shares climbing to 500 as industry insiders tuned in. "For minutes," Aaliyah murmured, almost to herself, as the ground security officers entered the cabin, their equipment jingling ominously, handcuffs, radios, body cams ready for action. The lead officer, a burly man with a no-nonsense badge, announced, "By order of the flight captain and federal air marshals, you're being removed from this aircraft. Please comply voluntarily to avoid escalation." Aaliyah looked around slowly, taking in the hostile faces, the recording phones, the overwhelming array of authority aligned against her. Noah gurgled softly, reaching toward the shiny security badge with innocent fascination. The contrast was heartbreaking. Aaliyah's maternal grace against the cold machinery of protocol. "Please," she said again, her voice steady despite the public humiliation, "verify my status. It will change everything." Reynolds' face flushed with anger. "You have 0 minutes left. Officers, escort this passenger and her child off immediately." The security team moved closer, hands outstretched to restrain her if needed. Passengers leaned forward in their seats, phones poised to capture the dramatic removal. Mia's stream rocketed to 40,000 viewers, the chat exploding. "Here it comes. She's gonna resist, watch." But Aaliyah didn't panic. She didn't plead or prepare to fight. She was waiting, her composure a weapon in itself. Air Marshal Rodriguez hesitated for a split second, his instincts flaring. "Ma'am, if there's documentation, remove her." Reynolds barked, his patience shattered. Jessica, sensing the climax, folded her arms with satisfaction. "Choices have consequences, ma'am. You chose to disrupt. Now you face the results." The cabin applauded lightly, the narrative solidified. Disruptive mother versus heroic crew upholding safety. But the blogger noticed subtleties others missed. Aaliyah's steady breathing, the way her eyes flicked to her phone with purpose. He typed, "Plot twist incoming? This doesn't add up." Aaliyah reached for her phone with deliberate calm, her fingers steady as she pressed a single contact and activated the speaker. 3 minutes, she said softly, almost conversationally. "Time's up," Reynolds declared. "Officers, proceed with removal." As the security hands inched closer, poised to physically lift her from the seat, Aaliyah's call connected. The cabin fell into a hush, the only sounds the distant hum of engines and Noah's soft coos. "Hi, honey," she said into the phone, her voice gentle and intimate, cutting through the tension like a warm light in the dark. "I'm having some trouble on your airline." The voice that answered made Captain Reynolds' blood run cold, freezing him in place like a statue. It was deep, resonant, laced with barely contained fury and unmistakable to anyone in Skylink's ranks. "Which aircraft, sweetheart? I'll handle this personally." Reynolds recognized it instantly. Every captain at Skylink knew that voice. It belonged to the man who signed their paychecks, who steered the company through mergers and crises, who commanded boardrooms with the same authority Reynolds wielded in the cockpit. It was Nathan Carter, 38, the CEO of Skylink Airways. Aaliyah's response was soft, almost casual. Flight 927 first class. The crew is being creative with customer service. Nathan's reply thundered through the speaker, echoing off the cabin walls. This is Nathan Carter, Chief Executive Officer of Skylink Airways. Everyone on that aircraft needs to step back from my wife immediately. The words hung in the air like a bombshell, detonating the fragile narrative Jessica and Reynolds had built. The cabin fell into absolute silence, save for Noah's innocent gurgle and the faint whir of airport equipment outside. Jessica's face drained of all color, her triumphant smirk crumbling into horror. Reynolds staggered backward a step, his authority evaporating in real time. The TikTok stream exploded past 50,000 viewers, the comments section going absolutely wild. Plot twist of the century. She's the CEO's wife. They're so fired. Holy crap, this is legendary. Passengers who had cheered Jessica moments ago now stared in shock, their phones still recording but trembling in guilty hands. The elderly woman in pearls sank deep into her seat, her earlier judgmental whispers replaying in her mind like a nightmare. The businessman in the suit lowered his phone, his face paling as he realized he'd documented his own complicity. Nathan's voice continued, ice cold and terrifying in its control. Aaliyah, are you and Noah safe? Has anyone laid a hand on you? We're fine now, Aaliyah replied calmly, though her cheek still burned from the slap. Though Miss Harper did slap me when Noah was crying. In front of everyone. The admission hit like a lightning strike. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Passengers who'd applauded the discipline suddenly understood they'd witnessed and, in some cases, encouraged an assault on the CEO's wife. Phones that had been eagerly filming now felt like hot coals in their hands. Mia's stream hit 55,000, her whisper frantic. Did you hear that? The CEO's on the line, his wife just got slapped by his own employee. Reynolds found his voice first, though it cracked with desperation. Mr. Carter. Sir, this is Captain Reynolds. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Nathan's voice sliced through like a blade, his fury barely leashed. Captain, I'm watching the live stream right now. Over 55,000 people just witnessed my wife being assaulted by your crew. Explain how that's a misunderstanding. Jessica backed against the galley wall, her cycle of emotions flashing across her face. Disbelief, terror, desperate denial. This has to be a joke, she stammered. She's just a passenger with a screaming baby. How could she be? Miss Harper, Nathan interrupted, his tone deadly calm. You just called my wife just a passenger after physically assaulting her. Please continue. I'm recording this for our legal team. The businessman blogging on the aviation forum stopped mid-sentence, his post exploding to 2,000 shares as insiders realized they were witnessing corporate Armageddon. He deleted his original take and typed frantically, breaking. Skylink crew assault CEO's wife on livestream. Stock plummeting 5% in after hours. Air Marshal Rodriguez raised his hand slowly, backing away from Aaliyah as if she were suddenly radioactive. Mrs. Carter, he said carefully, we were responding to crew reports. We had no knowledge of your identity. Of course you didn't, Aaliyah replied gently, adjusting Noah's blanket with the same maternal grace she'd maintained throughout. That was the point, wasn't it? How passengers are treated when assumptions are made based on appearance. Reynolds scrambled for damage control. Sir, if we could discuss this privately, I'm sure we can resolve. Privately. Nathan's laugh was harsh, devoid of humor. Captain, 60,000 people are watching this live. The time for privacy ended when your crew assaulted my wife in front of an audience. The elderly woman, her pearls now feeling like a noose, shrank further, her previous comments about entitled behavior, captured on multiple streams. She whispered to no one. Oh God, what have I said? Aaliyah opened her carry-on bag and retrieved the platinum card she'd hidden earlier. It wasn't just any executive card, it was custom designed. Embossed in gold with Mrs. Nathan Carter, First Family. She held it up for the cameras, the cabin erupting in gasps and shocked murmurs. Several passengers covered their faces, realizing their recorded judgments would soon be linked to their social media profiles forever. "Honey," Aaliyah said into the phone, her voice sweet amid the chaos, "should I mention the acquisition announcement?" Nathan paused, his response carrying strategic weight. "Not yet, sweetheart. Let's see how they handle the next few minutes first." Jessica's desperation peaked. "This is impossible. I've worked for Skylink for 8 years. I would know the CEO's family." "Would you?" Aaliyah asked quietly, her question hanging unanswered. "Have you ever seen photos of Nathan's wife and son? Has the company shared our personal information with crew members?" The answer was obvious: no. Skylink, like most corporations, guarded executive privacy fiercely. Reynolds pulled out his radio with shaking hands. "Ground control, this is Flight 927. Delay departure indefinitely. We have a situation requiring corporate intervention." Ground control's voice crackled back, confused. "Flight 927, clarify the situation. We show security in progress." Reynolds looked helplessly at Aaliyah. She nodded toward her phone. "Ground control," Nathan's voice took over. "This is Nathan Carter, CEO. Cancel all security responses immediately. I'm handling this personally." "Copy that, Mr. Carter. All units standing down." Mia's TikTok stream reached 65,000 viewers. Local news vans raced toward the airport. Skylink scandal trended nationally. But the real shock came when Aaliyah switched to video call. The screen showed a boardroom packed with executives, all watching in real time. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced to the cabin, "meet Skylink's leadership team. They've been monitoring this entire incident." The camera panned across stern faces. Corporate officers, legal counsel, federal liaisons. Their expressions ranged from shock to fury. Nathan appeared on screen, a distinguished black man in a sharp suit, his eyes burning with protective rage. "Miss Harper," he said, addressing her directly, "you assaulted my wife in front of 70,000 witnesses. Federal law defines aircraft assault as a felony with mandatory prison time." Jessica's legs buckled. "Mr. Carter, I didn't know I was following protocols." "Safety protocols?" Nathan's eyebrows rose. "Show me the regulation authorizing slaps on passengers with infants." She couldn't because none existed. The businessman who'd supported Jessica frantically deleted his posts, but screenshots spread like wildfire. Reynolds tried a final appeal. "Sir, emotions ran high, mistakes were made. Handle internally." "Internal?" Nathan cut off. "This is under FAA, DOT, and DOJ investigation. Internal is off the table." He gestured off camera. "Legal is preparing charges. Assault, battery, civil rights violations, child endangerment." Aaliyah spoke up, her voice carrying across the silent cabin. "Nathan, should I play the security footage?" Skylink's head of legal appeared. "Mrs. Carter, we have full documentation from aircraft cameras. The implications crashed like a wave, not just viral video but high-def federal evidence." Jessica slumped, her career over. Reynolds' face went ashen. His record showed 17 buried discrimination complaints. Nathan revealed more. "Today's incident exposes a pattern. No more quiet settlements." Revelations stunned the cabin. Skylink had covered discrimination for years. This live assault blew it open. TikTok hit 75,000. News broke into programming. Skylink assault trended globally. Rodriguez spoke carefully. "Sir, we followed protocols on crew claims." "Protocols needing verification," Nathan replied. "You'll get training on spotting crew bias." Aaliyah looked into Mia's camera. "For everyone watching, remember, assumptions destroy lives. Today, 80,000 saw prejudice meet accountability." Mia gasped. "This is insane. The CEO's wife assaulted on live TV." Nathan's voice finalized. "Flight grounded for investigation. Harper, Reynolds suspended pending charges." Jessica sobbed. "I have a family." "You chose," Aaliyah said gently. "Consequences are public now." Video showed more executives joining investigators, attorneys. Corporate power mobilized against one viral slap. Nathan addressed the cabin. "You've seen discrimination's face. Today it changes." Noah laughed innocently, cutting tension. "Acquisition can wait," Nathan said lovingly. "We have justice first." Aaliyah smiled at the camera. Change happens when power confronts prejudice publicly. Federal investigators boarded, doors opening to flashes. The woman they tried to remove owned their futures. The world watched. But the revelation didn't stop there. As the boardroom feed continued, Nathan delved deeper into Skylink's dark underbelly. Our revenue last year, $4.5 billion. Satisfaction, 92%. But today's threat? Operating certificates, insurance, $900 million in contracts. FAA investigator Emily Stone joined. Violations of CFR Title 14, Section 121.580. Legal shared Reynolds history. 8 discrimination complaints, $300,000 average settlement. Jessica's record. For incidents with passengers of color, ignored training. Cabin audio replayed. Jessica's slurs, the slap, insults. Evidence mounted. TikTok hit 85,000. Nathan announced reforms. Carter family protocol, no contact without justification. 50-hour bias training. Failure termination. Scope unprecedented. Jessica broke. You can't fire me. Safety protocols? Aaliyah asked. Cite the slap regulation. Silence. Legal outlined. Jessica felony assault, 8 months min prison. Reynolds enabling license revocation. TikTok, 90,000. Corporate justice trending. Stone. Skylink's response sets industry model. Nathan to audience. Discrimination has consequences, public, permanent. To Aaliyah. Ready to fly? She smiled. Different flight. This one needs recovery. Irony perfect. Marshals escorted Jessica. Reynolds in cuffs. Passengers silent. Complicity documented. Revelation complete, but transformation just beginning. The revelation hung in the air like a thundercloud about to burst, electrifying every inch of the first-class cabin on Skylink Airways Flight 927. Nathan Carter's voice, booming through the phone speaker with the unyielding force of a CEO accustomed to bending boardrooms to his will, had just shattered the fragile illusion of authority that Jessica Harper and Captain Michael Reynolds had clung to. At 38, Nathan was a force in the aviation world, a self-made titan, who had risen from humble beginnings in Atlanta to helm one of America's largest airlines. His marriage to Aaliyah, 32, was a partnership of equals, built on shared ambitions and quiet strength. But today that personal bond was weaponized into a corporate reckoning. The cabin, once buzzing with judgmental murmurs and supportive nods for the crew, now simmered in stunned silence. Phones that had eagerly recorded the disruptive mother's humiliation now captured the unraveling of those who had humiliated her. Nathan's words echoed again, each syllable dripping with controlled fury. Jessica Harper, you physically assaulted my wife in front of witnesses. Captain Reynolds, you enabled it, escalating a simple situation into a federal incident. This isn't just a misunderstanding, it's a violation of everything Skylink stands for. His voice, deep and resonant, carried the weight of someone who had faced discrimination himself in his climb to the top, making his condemnation all the more piercing. Jessica, backed against the galley wall like a cornered animal, stammered her defense, her face a mask of crumbling defiance. At 35, she had prided herself on her no-nonsense approach, but now it was crumbling under the glare of 70,000 TikTok viewers and counting. Mr. Carter, Siri didn't know. She was disruptive, the baby was screaming, and I was just trying to maintain order. How could I possibly have known she was your wife? Her voice cracked, the energy that had fueled her slap now redirected into desperate pleas. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her uniform suddenly feeling too tight, too confining. Aaliyah, still cradling 5-month-old Noah with the unshakable poise that had unnerved everyone from the start, interjected quietly but firmly. Her cheek still bore the faint red mark of the assault, a visible reminder of the line crossed. That's exactly the point, Miss Harper. You didn't know because you didn't bother to check. You judged me by my appearance, a black mother traveling alone with her child, and assumed the worst. What if I wasn't the CEO's wife? Would that make your actions any less wrong? Her words landed like soft blows, not accusatory but illuminating, forcing the cabin to confront the ugly undercurrents of bias that had fueled the entire ordeal. The elderly woman in pearls, who had been so quick to applaud Jessica's standards, shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her designer glasses slipping down her nose. She whispered to herself, "Oh dear God, what have I done?" Her earlier comments, captured on multiple live streams, replayed in her mind, judgments about entitled behavior that now felt like daggers turned inward. The businessman in the tailored suit, who had vocally supported the removal, frantically scrolled through his phone, deleting posts, but it was too late. Screenshots were already circulating, his face tied to hashtags like Skylink Bigot. Mia, the 20-year-old college student whose TikTok live had turned this into a global spectacle, could barely contain her excitement and horror. Her viewer count surged to 72,000, the comments a chaotic storm. "This CEO is dropping hammers. Flight attendant's career is toast deserved. Wait, is this real? Plot twist level 1000. She whispered into her phone. Y'all, the CEO just called out his own employees. This is corporate drama on steroids. Nathan wasn't done. From the video call now projected on Aaliyah's phone screen visible to nearby passengers, and captured by every recording, Devassi gestured to his legal team off camera. Play the cabin audio. Let everyone hear exactly what happened. The aircraft speakers crackled to life, replaying the damning timeline with crystal clarity. Jessica's voice filled the space. Control your screaming, brat, or I'll have security remove you both. Then the sharp crack of the slap, followed by her announcements. Some people don't understand appropriate travel etiquette. People like you always try to upgrade illegally. Your baby daddy isn't going to save you. Each phrase built a case of premeditated discrimination and assault, the words hanging heavy like evidence in a courtroom. Passengers who had chuckled at the insults now winced, their complicity laid bare. The blogger in Seat 3C, his aviation forum post now viral with 3,000 shares, typed rapidly, "Audio evidence is devastating. Skylink's cover-up culture exposed live." Industry insiders commented furiously, "This could tank their stock." Indeed, whispers spread Skylink's shares were already dipping 7% in after-hours trading, investors panicking at the PR nightmare unfolding in real time. Federal Aviation Administration investigator Emily Stone joined the video call from her Washington office, her face stern on the screen. A veteran of countless airline probes, she spoke with clinical precision. "Mr. Carter, we're reviewing multiple violations here, including CFR Title 14, Section 121.580 on passenger safety and crew conduct. Preliminary assessment shows clear breaches in de-escalation protocols and potential civil rights infringements under U.S. Code Title 49. Skylink's head legal counsel, Sarah Lynn, a sharp-minded attorney in her 40s, chimed in seamlessly. Harper faces felony assault charges under federal jurisdiction, with a mandatory minimum of 6 months imprisonment. Reynolds, your command record shows 6 discrimination complaints over the past 7 years, all settled quietly, costing the company over $1.5 million in hush money. She consulted her tablet, her voice unwavering. These weren't isolated. They form a pattern of enabling biased crew behavior. Reynolds slumped against a seatback, his 45-year-old frame suddenly looking a decade older. His hands trembled as he gripped the radio, the gold stripes on his sleeves now mocking symbols of lost power. "Sir, those were handled internally. I followed procedures. Procedures that failed passengers like my wife," Nathan cut in coldly. "Captain, you've commanded flights where similar assumptions led to escalations. Today ends that." Reynolds' mind raced back to those buried cases. A Latino family questioned over seating, an Asian passenger accused of suspicious behavior. He had dismissed them as overreactions, but now, under the glare of 75,000 viewers, they resurfaced like ghosts. The air marshals, Rodriguez and Johnson, exchanged uneasy glances. Rodriguez spoke up cautiously. "Mr. Carter, we acted on crew reports in good faith. Standard protocol for non-compliance." Nathan's expression softened slightly toward the federal agents. They were, after all, following flawed systems. "Agents, I appreciate your role, but those protocols need reform. Independent verification before force is essential. You'll be part of the training overhaul." Aaliyah, sensing the shift, addressed the cabin directly for the first time since the call. "This isn't just about me or Noah. It's about every parent who's been shamed for a crying child. Every traveler profiled because of how they look. Assumptions like these happen daily, but today the world sees the cost." Her words, delivered with quiet dignity, resonated deeply. Noah, as if on cue, let out a soft laugh, his innocent joy piercing the heavy atmosphere like sunlight through clouds. Mia's stream hit 80,000 viewers, news outlets now interrupting broadcasts. Breaking. Skylink CEO's wife assaulted by crew live on social media. Skylink scandal trended globally, memes exploding. Images of Jessica's slap edited with Nathan's furious face. Captions like, "When karma flies first class." Nathan turned to the boardroom feed, where executives huddled in crisis mode, suits rumpled, coffee cups forgotten. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," he announced, his voice projecting authority. "This incident exposes systemic flaws. Effective immediately, Flight 927 is grounded for federal investigation. Harper and Reynolds are terminated on the spot." Jessica's anguished cry echoed through the cabin. "Terminated? Mr. Carter, please, I have a family, a mortgage. It was a mistake." Tears streamed down her face, her 8-year career flashing before her eyes. The promotions, the layovers in exotic cities, the sense of power over the skies all evaporating. Aaliyah's response was gentle but unyielding. "Choices have consequences, Miss Harper. You chose to act on prejudice. Now, those consequences are very public." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Aaliyah, the disruptive mother, now held the moral high ground, her composure a masterclass in resilience. Sarah Lynn outlined the immediate fallout. Harper, federal assault, battery, civil rights violations under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, child endangerment, potential 18-month sentence. Reynolds, complicity in assault, failure to protect passengers' license revocation imminent. The severity hit like physical blows. Jessica's legs gave way. Security steadied her. Reynolds nodded numbly, his aviation dreams crumbling. But Nathan's vision extended beyond punishment. "This is our reckoning, but also our rebirth." He unveiled the Carter family protocol via shared screen. A comprehensive reform package. No crew member contacts a passenger physically without documented safety justification. Violation means instant termination. Mandatory 40-hour bias awareness training, developed with civil rights experts from the NAACP and Southern Poverty Law Center. All discrimination complaints bypass management, reporting directly to federal oversight for transparency. The scope was revolutionary. Crews would undergo advanced de-escalation simulations, focusing on families and diverse travelers. New aircraft signage. Every family belongs, respect first. Failure to complete training. Automatic certification loss. Passengers murmured in awe, the blogger tweeted. Skylink stock down 10%. But these reforms could save the company. Corporate history unfolding. Emily Stone nodded approvingly. This exceeds federal requirements. We'll use it as a model for industry-wide mandates. The passengers who had cheered Jessica now hid their faces, their online comments preserved like digital fingerprints. The elderly woman deleted her Facebook Live, but it was futile, shares numbered in the thousands. The businessman faced backlash on LinkedIn. Your support for assault? Career suicide. Nathan addressed the online audience directly. To the 85,000 watching, discrimination has real public consequences. Skylink will lead the change. To Aaliyah, sweetheart, you've shown incredible strength. The acquisition announcement? It can wait, we're re-announcing reform instead. Aaliyah smiled, kissing Noah. Change starts with accountability. Today we all learned that. Federal marshals boarded, escorting Jessica and Reynolds in restraints. Jessica's perp walk, captured by news crews outside, became iconic. Reynolds' stripes were stripped symbolically. But the reckoning deepened. Nathan revealed internal audits. 20+ discrimination cases buried company-wide. No more settlements, full transparency. Legal estimated liability. $20 to $30 million if class actions followed. TikTok hit 90,000. Global media swarmed. The blogger's coverage earned Pulitzer buzz. In the boardroom, executives brainstormed. Enhanced AI for bias detection in crew interactions, passenger feedback apps for real-time reporting. Aaliyah whispered to Nathan, "This is bigger than us." He agreed. "It's for every family like ours." As the plane emptied, passengers reflected, their assumptions shattered. A new era dawning in aviation. The aftermath rippled outward. Within hours, Skylink's crisis team activated, but Nathan insisted on transparency. No spin on the mistake, fix it publicly. Social media erupted. Influencers dissected the slap. Psychologists analyzed Aaliyah's calm as strategic resilience. Parents shared stories. I've been that mom judged for a fussy baby. Mia's fame skyrocketed. She announced a documentary, Sky High Injustice. Industry rivals scrambled, announcing their own reviews to preempt scandals. Nathan's final address. This reckoning rebuilds trust. Dignity for all passengers, our new standard. The doors of Skylink Airways Flight 927 swung open to a frenzy of flashing lights and shouting reporters, marking the end of one chapter and the explosive beginning of another. Federal marshals led Jessica Harper and Captain Michael Reynolds down the jet bridge in handcuffs, their faces etched with the raw shock of careers imploding in real time. Jessica, at 35, stumbled slightly, her once crisp uniform now wrinkled and symbolic of her fall from grace. Tears streaked her makeup as she muttered pleas to the marshals. This can't be happening, I was just doing my job. Reynolds, 45, walked with the defeated slump of a man who had commanded the skies for 2 decades, his gold stripes glinting mockingly under the airport fluorescence. As they emerged into the terminal, news crews from CNN, Fox, and local affiliates swarmed like vultures, microphones thrusting forward. Miss Harper, do you regret slapping the CEO's wife? One shouted. Captain, how does it feel to lose everything over a baby crying? Their perp walks became instant viral sensations, replayed on every screen from Times Square billboards to smartphone notifications worldwide. Back in the cabin, Aaliyah Carter gathered her things with the same quiet dignity that had defined her throughout the ordeal. Noah, her 5-month-old son, cooed contentedly in her arms, oblivious to the earthquake he had unwittingly triggered. Passengers filed out in stunned silence, avoiding eye contact with Aaliyah, some murmuring apologies under their breath, others clutching their phones like lifelines, knowing their recorded judgments would haunt them. The elderly woman in pearls paused at Aaliyah's seat, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry, dear. I didn't realize. I was wrong. Aaliyah nodded graciously. We all make assumptions. The key is learning from them. It was a moment of raw humanity amid the chaos, a spark of redemption in a story of reckoning. Within hours, the incident's ripples turned into tidal waves. Skylink's emergency board meeting convened in a sleek Manhattan high-rise, the room thick with tension and the scent of strong coffee. Nathan Carter, 38, stood at the head of the table, his suit impeccable but his eyes burning with resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice steady as a captain navigating turbulence. Today's events aren't just a PR crisis theory, a mirror to our company's soul. We've buried discrimination complaints for too long. No more. Shareholders watched via live stream, their faces a mix of panic and intrigue as Nathan outlined the path forward. Transparency would be the new mantra. Full public disclosure of all past settlements, totaling over $5 million in hushed payouts. The stock plummeted 12% that afternoon, wiping out millions in market value. But Nathan's proactive stance announcing the Carter family protocol before the close of business stemmed the bleed. Analysts on Bloomberg whispered, this could be Skylink's Phoenix moment. Jessica Harper's federal trial began 3 months later in a packed Nashville courtroom, the air humming with anticipation. Prosecutors presented an avalanche of evidence. The TikTok livestream, now viewed 89 million times across platforms, high-definition aircraft camera footage showing the slap in slow motion, audio transcripts laced with Jessica's bias barbs like, people like you, and baby daddy. Witnesses took the stand, passengers who had cheered her on, now squirming under cross-examination. Mia, the college student whose video had ignited the firestorm, testified via video link, her voice steady despite the nerves. I filmed it because it felt wrong. A mom holding her baby shouldn't be slapped. Jessica's defense argued heat-of-the-moment stress, but the jury wasn't swayed. After just 4 hours of deliberation, they returned a guilty verdict on charges of assault, battery, civil rights violations, and child endangerment. The judge, a stern woman with a history of aviation cases, sentenced Jessica to 18 months in federal prison, plus 5 years probation and a lifetime ban from customer-facing roles. As the gavel fell, Jessica broke down, sobbing into her hands. Her fall was complete, from flight attendant enforcing standards to a cautionary tale in crew training manuals worldwide. Captain Reynolds faced his own tribunal a month later, in a FAA hearing room that felt more like a funeral parlor. His 20-year record was dissected. 6 discrimination complaints, each involving crew escalations under his watch. Prosecutors painted him as an enabler, complicit in a culture of unchecked bias. Reynolds, graying at the temples and hollow-eyed, pleaded for leniency. "I trusted my crew," he said, voice cracking. "I never meant harm." But the evidence emails dismissing complaints as overreactions. Logs showing he ignored de-escalation protocols sealed his fate. His pilot's license was revoked permanently, his pension forfeited, and he was hit with misdemeanor charges for failure to protect passengers, resulting in community service and fines. At 45, Reynolds found himself grounded forever, taking a desk job at a logistics firm, whispering to colleagues about that one flight that ended it all. Skylink's transformation was swift and sweeping. The Carter family protocol launched across all 1,200 daily flights within 24 hours. New signage appeared in every aircraft. "Every family belongs here, respect first, always." Crews underwent mandatory 40-hour training sessions, blending bias awareness workshops led by NAACP experts with role-playing scenarios. "Imagine you're the parent with a crying child," trainers urged. "How would you want to be treated?" Failure rates were low, but those who flunked were terminated, no exceptions. Advanced de-escalation tech rolled out. Body cams for all crew, AI algorithms flagging potential bias in interactions via real-time audio analysis. Customer satisfaction metrics soared. Within 6 months, Skylink reported a 23% revenue bump, driven by loyal diverse travelers. Families of color, once bracing for confrontations, now shared glowing reviews online. "First time I felt truly welcomed," one mother posted with a photo of her toddler smiling mid-flight. The phrase "people like you" was eradicated from company vocabulary, replaced by proactive greetings. "How can we make your family's trip more comfortable?" Crews competed in internal awards for exceptional service, turning former pain points into points of pride. The incident birthed the Airline Accountability Act, sponsored by senators who had watched Mia's stream in horror. Passed in record time, 6 months from proposal to law, it mandated public reporting of all discrimination complaints across U.S. airlines, with penalties for cover-ups reaching $10 million per violation. "This is the Thompsoner-Carter legacy," one lawmaker quipped during debates, referencing the story's viral moniker. International carriers took note. European airlines like Lufthansa adopted similar protocols voluntarily, while Asian giants like Singapore Airlines integrated bias training into their renowned service models. Global discrimination complaints in aviation dropped 67% within 2 years, a statistic hailed in United Nations human rights reports. Aaliyah and Nathan didn't stop at policy. They launched the Carter Travel Fund, a nonprofit providing legal aid to airline bias victims. Within its first year, it handled 1,000 cases, achieving a 98% settlement rate. Aaliyah, leveraging her calm under fire, became a sought-after speaker. At the NAACP Valor Award ceremony, where she was honored for her dignity, she stood on stage with Noah toddling at her feet. "Dignity shouldn't require power or position," she said, her voice echoing through the auditorium. "But when it does, use it to lift others." The audience erupted in applause, tears flowing freely. Nathan beamed from the front row, their partnership a beacon of resilience. Mia's TikTok fame catapulted her into stardom. Gaining 3 million followers overnight, she channeled it into Skybound Justice, a documentary that premiered at Sundance. The film wove personal stories, interviews with Aaliyah on her strategic calm, former victims sharing airport horrors, and even a remorseful passenger from Flight 927 reflecting on their bias. It won multiple awards, including an Emmy, and sparked a series on everyday discrimination. "This started with one video," Mia said in acceptance speeches, "but it ended a cycle of silence." The blogger's real-time coverage earned a Pulitzer nomination, his detailed thread becoming required reading in journalism schools. Harvard Business School turned the incident into a case study, "The Carter Transformation When Crisis Meets Accountability." Students dissected Nathan's swift reforms, Aaliyah's poise as a model of conflict resolution, debating how one slap reshaped an industry. Culturally, the shift was profound. Families reported kinder skies. Flight attendants offering extra blankets for fussy babies. Pilots announcing family-friendly policies over intercoms. The Carter effect entered lexicon describing moments when quiet strength topples prejudice. Social media brimmed with stories. A Black father praised for Skylink's help with his autistic son. A Latina family upgraded after a genuine mix-up. No assumptions made. Globally, the legacy spread. 17 countries adopted Carter standards. From Australia's Qantas mandating diversity audits to India's Indigo revamping crew hiring for inclusivity. Aviation publications dubbed it the moment commercial flight culture flipped from authority to empathy. Jessica never flew again. Post-prison, she took a quiet warehouse job in rural Kentucky. Her story a whisper in training sessions. Don't be the next Harper. Reynolds became a consultant on aviation ethics, turning his downfall into lessons. Command without compassion destroys. But the heart of the aftermath lay in personal triumphs. Noah now too traveled frequently, crews vying to spoil him. Aaliyah's example inspired parents worldwide. Stay calm, speak truth became a mantra in support groups. Touching tales emerged, daily videos of assisted families tagged Carter kindness. In quiet moments, Aaliyah reflected. One flight changed everything, but it was always about more than us. Nathan agreed. It's about ensuring no family fears the skies. As Skylink hit 94% customer loyalty, profits soaring, the world learned. Accountability isn't punishment, it's progress. Dignity once demanded became default. And in every takeoff, the Carter legacy lifted off anew. This story isn't just a wild tale from the skies, it's a wake-up call for all of us navigating the turbulence of everyday life in 2025. Where social media can turn a bad day into a global headline faster than you can say delayed departure. In a world buzzing with AI assistants judging our every move and viral videos exposing biases left and right, Aaliyah's journey reminds us that assumptions are like cheap airline seats. Uncomfortable, unreliable, and often leading to a bumpy ride. The real lesson? Stay calm under pressure, because flipping the script with grace can ground even the highest flyers literally. Here's a humorous nugget with a side of education. Imagine slapping the boss's spouse and thinking you'll still get that employee discount on flights. Talk about a one-way ticket to regret. But seriously, it teaches us that jumping to conclusions without checking the facts is like boarding a plane without a ticket. You'll get booted eventually, and it won't be pretty. Let's all commit to pausing before presuming, offer help instead of hassle, and who knows, you might prevent the next viral scandal. Ever faced a similar judgment call while traveling, parenting, or just existing in public? Maybe a flight attendant gave you the stink eye over a snack wrapper, or a stranger assumed you didn't belong in a fancy spot. Drop your story in the comments below. Your experiences spark change, and sharing them builds a community where respect takes off. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for VNN Justice Stories. Got more uplifting tales of triumph over turbulence coming your way. Let's keep the conversation flying high, one story at a time.